Welcome to the Wednesday Match Play, your weekly connection to the biggest and best brands in golf. On this show you will learn more about the latest golf fashion trends, hear from LPGA and PGA Tour players, get advice on planning your next golf getaway, and much more. Broadcasting live from Santa Rosa, California, please welcome your host, On the Tee, Ricky Potts.
A few weeks ago, Barry Friedman said, "You need to get my colleague Chad on your show." I didn't know who Chad was at the time, but quickly learned that he had worked with Barry at Pebble Beach, spent time at Forest Dunes in Michigan, and is now selling shirts for his new company, Sideways 9. On this episode of the Wednesday Match Play podcast, you will learn more about his time in Monterey, his interactions with Tiger, his thoughts on the loop at Forest Dunes, and the future of Sideways 9. He also talks about why he always wears black. This was a fun conversation, and it was great having Chad on the show. Let's jump into it.
Chad, welcome to the Wednesday Match Play podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ricky. Happy to be here.
I'm excited to learn more about you and your product and your history. You've got a very storied history that actually Barry Friedman, who works at Valley of the Eagles, introduced us, and we were actually talking the other day, and he says, "Hey, I got a buddy that I want to have on the show." He told me you're past at Pebble Beach. You're currently in Roscommon, Michigan at Forest Dunes, a property that I've spent some time at. So very excited for this conversation. Let's start with Sideways 9. Where did the name for that come from? And then give us an overview of the company, where it all started, what sort of products that you offer, and the elevator pitch of what Sideways 9 is all about.
Sure. The name kind of spawned from, I grew up in a very sports-oriented family, so been playing sports my whole life, and I've always been fond of the number 9. So throughout my life, anytime I played sports, I would always try and garner that number. And I carried it over, as corny as it sounds, even into my adult life. So if I created a pair of Chuck Taylor Converse online, I always stuck a 9 somewhere in it. I actually got, for those golf purists, I actually have a Mackenzie golf bag, a Mackenzie Walker. And in that bag, or on that bag, I actually put a number 9 on it. So just something I've always done. So I've always liked this number. And so I think a year or so ago, after I got the Mackenzie bag, I was playing the loop at Forest Dunes. As I set the bag down, hit my shot, I was walking back to it, perpendicular, and the 9 was on its side. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I kind of liked the look of it. I thought it was original. I've never seen anyone use a number on its side before. So that kind of stuck with me. The first part of the name kind of went through a few different transitions before settling on Sideways 9. And again, it's still a golf term. People come off the course. You're in the business. I'm in the business. How'd you hit it today? I hit it sideways. So that's kind of the origin of the name. The actual company of itself, how that started was several years ago, I had an idea for a clothing line and kind of jotted ideas down, and that didn't really come to fruition, but that spawned what is now Sideways 9. So for the past few years, every time I've had an idea, I've just written it down. And finally had the opportunity this past year to kind of, set that into motion and launch the company.
The fact that you have had the chance to play the loop, I mean, granted, you live there, but I missed out on that opportunity. So I need to find an excuse to get back because I really enjoyed my experience there. There's a very small restaurant there. And when I talk about Roscommon, anyone that's not been there, look it up because it's a small place. And I remember my week there, and it's a memorable place as well.
It is. It's a special place, and the loop is especially fun for me. As I was here, I was hired on when it was just a conversation about building another golf course, and then having the ability to move up through the company and actually help launch that, become very well acquainted with Tom Doak and his staff, actually name the course. That's something I never thought I'd be a part of a course opening, as fewer, golf courses are opening nowadays, but to actually be a part of naming the golf course, which just recently the red and the black, since it's a reversible golf course, just got put into the top 50 public. So Forest Dunes Golf Club has Forest Dunes ranked 28, the Loop Black ranked 45, and the Loop Red ranked 47. So to have 3 golf courses within 300 yards of each other ranked in the top 50 public, it's a special place.
Now, another special place is Pebble Beach. You work with Barry at Pebble Beach. What did you do there, and do you guys still stay in touch? I mean, obviously you still talk because he was the reason why we got you on this podcast.
Yeah, Barry and I, we share texts throughout the year. He's in Ohio now. Obviously, I'm in Michigan, but we actually just had dinner together 2 weeks ago at the Masters, the one that Tiger just won. So we stay in contact. I started off with the Pebble Beach company almost by accident. I'd moved to Northern California. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law were in Mountain View, and we had come to visit, and they kind of talked us into moving out from the Chicago area. So we did. And I was close to accepting jobs at a few other courses, and on a whim, applied for a job down in Monterey at the Pebble Beach company. Ended up getting that job as an assistant, and then from there, I started at Del Monte Golf Course, which is one of the 4 Pebble Beach-owned companies or golf courses in the company. I was there only about 6 months and applied for and got a job as an assistant at Pebble Beach Golf Links. And after 2 years in that position, then I was promoted to first assistant golf professional at Pebble Beach, which I worked for the next decade or so. Actually, believe it or not, I actually hired Barry. So that's how far back we go. I actually interviewed Barry when he was looking for a job out of Ferris State. I actually brought Barry into the company, and he worked there for a few years before moving down south to Arizona and then back home to Ohio.
What a cool story. I'm going to make sure that he not only hears this episode, he's probably one of the biggest fans of this podcast. He listens to it each Wednesday morning on his workouts, and he's always texting me almost before I'm even out of bed, texting me because of the time difference. So he's already listened to the podcast before I'm even starting my day. So I'm sure that he'll appreciate the shout out. He was on this show earlier this year, so this is another tip of the cap to Barry and what he's done. Who designed the logo for Sideways 9? I mean, it's pretty simple after you tell the story of what it means, but the logo is pretty straightforward. But who designed that?
Actually, I did. So it's kind of interesting. I got chastised by this when I said this to a family member, but I've never thought of myself as overly artistic or creative. My sister begged to differ with that. But how it works is I think through years of working through corporate groups and running resort tournament ops at Pebble Beach, whether you're making rule sheets or changing logos or inputting logos, I obviously had some background in that. But anyways, basically what I did was my brother-in-law is a graphic designer, so I talked to him, downloaded Adobe Illustrator, and started to play around with it. And I searched for hours and hours and hours on how I wanted this logo to look. Effectively, what ended up happening was I came up with the concept that I kind of have a unique style of handwriting, and I still write in cursive. I know millennials don't, but I write in cursive and I have nice handwriting. I always did calligraphy for tournament scoring, so I came up with the idea of having a logo in my own handwriting. So I researched how to develop a font out of your own handwriting and so on and so forth. Well, believe it or not, I actually found a font which is probably 90% accurate to my own handwriting. So once I found the sideways handwriting, that became that portion of the logo. The number 9 to that font was not how I write a 9. So then I had to go through the whole process of searching fonts to find the 9 that looked like one that I would write. So it took a long time. It is very simple. It's just cursive handwriting and a number 9, but that's how it was formed.
I'm Tiger's biggest fan. Barry and I fight about that all the time. I think he thinks he's a bigger fan, but tell me more about the Tiger goat design that you have. I love it.
It started, like I said, it's what's interesting, Ricky, is that I've always been someone who finishes what they start. That being said, I've been taking notes for years on a company that I really didn't have a time frame for or the actual time to launch a company. So I made literally hundreds of notes on my iPhone, and to some degree maybe wouldn't have done anything with that information. So for whatever reason, the good Lord kept me, pumping ideas into this kind of spreadsheet. And as the relevance of greatest of all time, the GOAT, kind of became sports culture, some of the younger staff at Forest Dunes and I would joke around about, here comes the GOAT, or there's the GOAT, or you're the GOAT. And I think it's a conversation started of greatest of all time. I'm a Chicago guy, so I'm a huge Jordan fan. I grew up in the Walter Payton era, so I grew up with, effective GOATs. But at my age, a GOAT was like Bill Buckner letting the ball go between his legs in Shea Stadium and losing the World Series. So the fun transition into the modern greatest of all time, for whatever reason, in a conversation, it stuck with me to do something with the greatest of all time. Tiger Woods, obviously, tiger being an animal, and he has the head cover and the whole deal. Somehow I put those together in my mind. Didn't have the creative ability at the time to actually create it. That came later. Jotted it down, kept it in my mind, kept trying to work it out. And once the design process started, I didn't stop or really let anyone know about it until it was to the point for trademarking. It was kind of a long, drawn-out process. I thought it was cool. The few people I showed it to after it was filed for trademarking really liked it. Debuted at the Masters, and it was a hit. It was kind of overwhelming how many people came up to us and, how many comments. And it was kind of, I know Barry wore one. We talked about it. We kind of felt like rock stars walking around Augusta. And then, believe it or not, the comeback's complete and Tiger wins.
What an awesome comeback it was, too. And I was sitting here in the same seat that I'm in right now watching that, and I almost quit after 3 or 4 holes. And I was like, there's no way. He's never come back from behind to win a major. Why is now going to be any different? And by the time that was over, I was in a puddle of tears, just crying my eyes out about that. So the connection that you have to Tiger, and anybody that knows me knows that I think he's the greatest of all time. I mean, it's not even a conversation. And I've stopped even discussing it with people that are arguing with me that he's not the greatest of all time. So I just have a really special place in my heart for that shirt. So very well done with that.
Yeah, thank you. It's I kind of have a long history. Obviously, my time at Pebble, having interactions with Tiger. I think I spent half of my time in 2010 dealing with his security at his compound. A friend of my dad's, who he played college golf with, Fluff Cowan, was Tiger's first caddy. So, and I'm only a few years difference from Tiger. So definitely in that generation. And as I said, we kind of had this mini Pebble Beach reunion at Augusta. It's a place where golf pros have the ability to congregate and catch back up. So we had dinners every night, and it was great. I mean, it was just an amazing week to be in attendance, and arguably the best sporting event I've ever been to, which is saying a lot.
There are so many different clothing manufacturers out there. I mean, so many different brands. How are you differentiating yourself from Nike and Adidas and all of these other companies that are existing next to you on the shelf?
What I've always said, even with launching this clothing business, having any sort of clothing business is not unique. It's not a unique idea, but it's my ideas that will make my brand unique. So effectively, the direction I come from with Sideways 9 is I've spent 20 plus years as a golf professional on the inside of the golf industry. For anyone who's ever spent any time working at a golf course, being a golf professional, even being on the outskirts, whether it be golf course maintenance or food and beverage, there's a little bit of an insider knowledge into what goes on, specifically with golf pros. So with the millions of interactions I've had in my career, specifically at a place like Pebble Beach, where you're encountering hundreds of thousands of people a year, there are just things that come along the way that are unique and that are funny. My concept is almost from the standpoint of there's a funny joke or an idea in every foursome you play in. It's not a parody company. I'm not going to have, a picture of Bill Murray and Caddyshack. I'm not selling parodies. I'm selling the sarcasm and the wit that come out of daily rounds of golf all over the country.
Where are the shirts made?
Believe it or not, the same year that I moved to Michigan, there was a startup company, a clothing apparel company, wholesaler in Gaylord, Michigan, which is 40 minutes north of me. At one point in time, they were growing so quickly, they got more hits per day than Nike on their website. So this company exploded. I think it was one of the fastest 10 growing companies in America for a short time. And they basically do a ton of wholesaling. They have all kinds of different options for clothing, from hats to T-shirts to sweatshirts to collared shirts, and they run it right out of Gaylord, Michigan. I had the opportunity to have someone in my backyard to be able to go and sit down with, go the ins and outs, work with them directly into what I want and what I'm looking for, work with, finding the right vendor of the quality of the garments I want to use, even to the point of screen printing and direct to garment printing and all those things. So you can have a background in the golf business and retail. It's different when you're on the manufacturing side. So to have someone so close, it was, it's been great. It's been amazing.
I did not expect that story. Honestly, I did not expect you to say they were even made in the United States. So that's a very nice addition. And the price point, I mean, $29 seems like a good price for a shirt. How are you able to get products that are made in the United States at the quality that you're producing for such a good price?
Part of it, like I said, it's that I am kind of a local. A lot of people who work in this company are friends of family members, actually know my family, my in-law side. And it's just working through relationships. I take great pride in the fact that to date, even the garments I use are made in America. As of right now, I use two different vendors, two manufacturers, both made in America. One is for the online side website, and the other one is for the retail side. In the next 2 or 3 weeks, Sideways 9 will enter its first golf store, and we will continue to spread the brand and expand.
Slow play is a big issue in golf. It's probably the biggest issue in golf right now. My buddy Eric recently turned me on to the show Letterkenny. It's a hilarious show on Hulu, and if you've not seen it, Barry told me you play hockey, so you would really appreciate this show. I have an idea based on that show for a shirt. So in conjunction with slow play, one of the things that they say a lot on that show is pitter patter, let's get at her. And it's I mean, I cannot tell you how I lose it rolling on the couch. The show is so funny. So when someone has an idea like that, what is the process for getting something like that on a shirt?
It kind of has to pass. The fun part of owning your own company is it has to inspire me to take it to the next level. So I remember going through PGA school, and I got my membership in 2005. So this probably would have been 2004. And one of the instructors' names, he was from the South. His name was on the tip of my tongue, but he said to a bunch of, wannabe golf professionals that we had to believe in the road theory. And we all looked left and right. No one had ever heard of the road theory. And he started to laugh and he said, the road theory stands for rip off and duplicate. And effectively what he meant and how he explained it was you don't steal other people's ideas, but you can take an idea and 2 or 3 steps down the road, make it your own. So I've always been the type of person who is very sarcastic. I'm very witty. I love to give the needle. It probably comes from my family upbringing and just decades of playing sports. So I'm the type of person, Ricky, that I say things all the time that make people laugh, but I'm not the type of person laughing as they're laughing. I'm smirking. I say things. I think it's funny, but I'm not laughing out loud. The test for me is if someone says something or brings something to me where I laugh, that's kind of my intuition to say, that's pretty funny. That's pretty good. A few of my shirts in my collection have come from those experiences.
That's cool. And, you talk about the laughter part, and I'm going to tie this into something that happened. I was having lunch with my team a couple of weeks ago. There's probably 8 or 10 of us at the table. And my boss was sitting across from me, and our director of communications was to my left. And it's a nice lunch. We're saying goodbye to one of our staff members who was leaving the company. And our director of communications drops her fork. And it's the loudest fork drop you've ever heard in your life, right? To where it's like making the people in the corner of the restaurant uncomfortable. It was so awkwardly loud. So the conversation keeps going, and my boss says, "Oh, don't worry, Adina, put that anywhere." And the conversation continues. I'm literally laughing so hard I'm crying. He looks at me and he says, "Did you think that was funny?" And I like literally, I'm about ready to just lose it right now, just thinking about it. And he's like, "I've been telling that joke for 10 years and nobody has ever laughed at it." And I'm like, that's the funniest thing I'm going to hear all week. So I totally can appreciate your direction there on what goes onto a shirt.
Hey there, it's Gabe Aloisi from Private Club Radio. If you are in the private club business, meaning you're a manager, you're a membership director, you sit on the board of directors, and you want to be entertained and educated, we have a weekly show on Mondays here on the Golf Radio Network. It's called Private Club Radio, and it's just for you. You can give it a listen over at privateclubradio.com or subscribe wherever podcasts are heard.
Yeah, there are some things. There was one recently, and it happened actually. We were at Augusta, and it's a friend of mine who was there, who was a former Pebble Beach professional, and we reconvened. He's in South Carolina now, and we were talking back and forth. a sidebar to that, our conversation made print, because where we were at, have you been to Augusta before, Ricky? Have you been to the event?
I have not, and I've been invited twice, and for the 2 times that I was invited, I couldn't go. And the person that invited me said, I'm going to invite you one more time sometime in the future, and if you say no, I'm never inviting you again. So I got one more shot at glory, and I need it to happen when Tiger's playing well, because I couldn't imagine being in Augusta without having him in contention.
Well, we were following Tiger in the final round, and I was there all week, so you don't have the same pressure to follow every single shot or every single hole. You can bounce around, and you have the freedom. And being a PGA member, I have the ability to get in daily. So you have a different pressure. But my friend David and I were talking, and we were on the 5th green, and we were chatting about a myriad of different things and catching up. And Tiger had, I won't go hole for hole, but he had just bogeyed 5. He may have bogeyed 4 and 5, but he had dropped 2 shots early. And so we went into a concession area, and both of us, by the way, are wearing Augusta Green Tiger Goat shirts. So we're having this conversation. Another friend of ours is with us. Tiger ends up going on to win the event. The next day, in some CBS sports column, a columnist is curtailing Tiger's front 9, and in it he throws in, there were 2 grown men in Tiger Goat shirts who were unfazed with his recent bogeys, which is completely accurate and completely funny, because we're both in the business. We both run PGA Tour events. We both assisted in running a major championship. You know, we're not the normal fan base that will go up and down by a bogey on the 5th hole. So yeah, we were rooting for Tiger. We wanted him to win, but a bogey to us at the time, we were indeed unfazed. But to find that in print along that same time is a story that came for a recent shirt that I produced. And so that's kind of how it happens, very organically. Like I said, I have hundreds of ideas. Some of them will never come to fruition. There's just no way to do it effectively. Others will sit in the can for a while, and I'll readdress it, and I'll see it, and something will pop, and it makes the line.
What is your favorite hole at Pebble Beach, and what is your best score at Pebble?
My favorite hole at Pebble Beach is number 8. I think it is by far the best par 4 in the world. Interesting that you don't hit a driver. I think a lot of golfers, maybe not purists, but a lot of golfers will think if it doesn't require a driver, there's not a lot of strategy to it. But I find it to be the opposite. Your first challenge of number 8 is to get the ball into play while testing as far as you can go to the cliff without obviously going in and incurring a penalty. So you have to get as high up on the bluff or as far down on the bluff as you can. If you hit a good shot, it still leaves you 165 in to this tiny green, almost a peninsula, not quite. And you're dealing with the wind. You're dealing with a severe green. The bunkers behind the green are just an awful place to be. That's a for sure bogey. You misjudge your club, you end up in the ravine. It can make or break your score. So I've always loved number 8. It was one of the last holes that I birdied. Some of the assistants at Pebble and I used to talk. I remember having a round where I had 5 birdies, and we started talking, what holes have you birdied, what haven't you? And at the time, I came up with 3 that I hadn't birdied, and it was 8, 14, which is a par 5, and 16. It's kind of a benign par 4. From that point on, it probably took me 3 more years of playing Pebble Beach to actually knock those off the list, partly because you're thinking about it. But number 8 is by far my best hole. My best score, I've probably been 3 under par, several times 2 under par. My best round, though, we used to play this event called the Coffee Cup, which was the inside staff versus the outside staff. And this particular match, I was paired against 3 marshals who got to play from the middle tees. They got to scramble, 3-man scramble. They pushed me to the U.S. Open tees, and I had to play scratch, obviously being a professional. And I had 6 birdies in that round from the U.S. Open tees. I won the 9-hole match by 1. We decided to continue playing. I think I had a hot dog and some mustard on my hands, and I pump one on the beach on 10 and quickly make double, and then kind of go on a storm coming through. And I probably shot 73 or 4 with 6 birdies. So not a great score round, but to birdie a third of the holes at Pebble from the U.S. Open tees, that was probably my best day.
Let's say I buy a shirt and it doesn't fit. What is the return policy?
You can send it back. You can email it to me. You can send it back, and we'll get you the right fit. They fit very much. It's a very standard fit. So if you're a large in Nike, Under Armour, whatever it is, you're going to be a large in sideways 9. It just depends really on the fit. Some people, and I hate to bring it up in this way, but maybe if you're from the Midwest, you like a little bigger fit. You know, maybe you like it a little baggier. If you're from the West Coast, maybe you like a little tighter fit. So that's really the only distinction that you need to make when ordering. If you like it a little baggier, order an extra size. If you like it a little tighter, order a size less.
Barry said that he never saw you in khakis, that you wore black every day. Does that mean you're a big Gary Player fan, or is that just how you like to dress?
A little bit of everything that you just said. Barry did, and there's no way Barry ever saw me in khakis. By the time Barry was there, I know for a fact I did not own khakis. It started from 2 places. I am a huge Gary Player fan. I have been. He's 2 generations beyond me. I always loved, and in the time I got to spend at Pebble and got to meet and spend a little time with Mr. Player, very diminutive. He is not a big person, but so strong and so fit and so in shape and just one of the best attitudes that you'll ever meet. I was inspired by Gary Player before I ever met him, way ahead of the game as it comes to fitness and exercising. You know, on top of that, if you read some of his history, the millions of miles he's traveled just to play in events. I mean, he's from South Africa. So, I mean, he's been millions of miles on planes. I go from here to California, I'm jet lagged for 2 days. Amazing stamina. So I always loved Gary Player, so I always loved that he wore black. But the real reason I started to go all black, even though it was my favorite color, and Barry can probably appreciate this, when you ran the tee, it was called the podium. So you're the person facilitating all the tee times at Pebble Beach. It's an outside job. Way back when, you had to organize all the caddies and shuffle carts down, and it's a tough job. It takes a knack to be able to do it effectively. Well, I learned very quickly when I started there, I did own khaki pants. But if I had keys or a cell phone or anything in my pocket, the moment I'm jumping in and out of carts all day on the tee, they're making little black marks on khaki pants. And so even though I got free dry cleaning all my years at Pebble Beach, I hated it. You'd be working for 2 hours and you'd look like a mess. And that's really not what you do at Pebble Beach. You know, you have to promote a certain appearance. You have to be clean cut. You have to have pressed clothes. You have to look the part as well as act the part. So I just hated those marks on my pants. So very quickly, I thought, well, if I wear black, it'll never show the mark. So I started going black pants, black on black, and that probably started maybe 2002, 2003, and I've never turned back. I still, to this day, there's not a pair of khakis in my closet.
That is incredible. And I pretty much only wear khaki. So I can see the other side of that. But yeah, if you're jumping in and out of carts all day, I will tell you that if I get a little smidge in my pants, my day is ruined. So I can relate to that.
Yeah, the people have joked, even from each facility I've gone to, I continue to wear black. I'm sitting here right now wearing black shorts, a black shirt, and a black hat. So I haven't changed. It's what I feel comfortable in. I love it. But people have always joked that, here comes Johnny Cash or the Man in Black or whatever it may be. But you do have to be careful, too, because I'm a pretty fun-loving guy, and I like to interact with people. But from time to time, there's a perception, if you're walking around in black, and you have sunglasses on, that it kind of gives a very serious demeanor, even though you may not be very serious at the time. So I've always kind of had to understand that and lighten it up. If you have to approach someone for, as you mentioned, pace of play is an issue. If you have to approach someone to pace of play and you're decked out in black and you got sunglasses on and people can't read your face and see your eyes, I've had to learn to take my glasses off, approach it with a smile, just to kind of diffuse them. I don't know what it is, but just seems like it's, I don't know, like a cowboy in the Old West coming to gun you down. I don't know what it is, but that's something I've definitely learned over time.
Okay, you've been involved with some majors. You've had some run-ins with Tiger. I'm Tiger's biggest fan. Do you think he breaks Jack's record Why or why not?
If he wins another major this year, which I think he has a great possibility, he's got Bethpage coming up where he's won a major. He's got Pebble Beach where he's won by the biggest margin in history, which I'm planning to go to Bethpage. I'm going to see what the weather determines. I'm definitely going out to Pebble. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the committee chairman for the 2010 U.S. Open, so I have to go out for that. If he clips one of those two or the British and gets to 16 this year, he ties it or breaks it. If he doesn't and he gets a major in the next year or two, I'll still say that he breaks it. But even if he doesn't, he's going to have most wins of all time. Currently he's at 16 majors. He's got the US AMs, he's got the Junior AMs, and he's got what I would argue is the best competition in the history of golf. To me, he's still the greatest of all time. You can like him or not like him. As I said before, I've had my interactions with Tiger, and they've always been positive. They've always been positive. I'd root for him to do it. Absolutely.
And I think Jack would too, and I think he is. And to your point about Tiger and the interactions you've had, I actually, funny enough, just a few days ago, I literally lost quote-unquote friends on Facebook because I was supporting Tiger and what he's done for his career. And there was a not really heated conversation, but it was, oh, well, he did what he did, and I can't look up to him and respect him. And I think that there's so much to be said about how his comeback has changed the way his legacy will be, whether he breaks the record or he doesn't. He's smiling on the golf course. He's signing autographs, even when he plays bad, even when he's not where he's not the same player that he used to be, the same guy that was winning tournaments in 2000. He's not that same player, but he couldn't still be that same player after all that he's gone through. And I honestly think that, to your point, if he wins one more this year, I mean, there's nobody else in the game of golf that can win the Grand Slam this year. And, you know, he's got Bethpage. He's not going to play between Augusta and Bethpage, which I'm concerned about. I don't know if he takes driver to Portrush if he makes the cut. I played there a few months ago, and that's one of the hardest golf courses I've ever played, and especially if you miss the fairway. But, hey, he's Tiger. He's the greatest of all time, and whatever he does between now and when he retires and he's officially done, I still think he's the greatest player that's ever played the game.
Yeah, I've told people so I was at Pebble Beach Company for 13 years, so I've had a lot of inside-the-rope interactions, and I always joke that when I left the company that my top-secret clearance would run out and I could share these stories. I've yet to do that, just out of respect for Pebble Beach and the people who are still there. But what I tell people from my interactions with Tiger Woods is that you have to understand the fact that he has never been a normal person. You know, he was on television at age 3. He was an only child from his parents, you know, raised a certain way with golf and education, all these things. He didn't grow up like we did. He didn't associate and have parties. I mean, he was a very driven, one-minded, focused person. So for him to kind of grow up in the limelight, people forget that, you know, he won, what was he when he won Augusta, 21 in 97? So he's very young. So for him to make mistakes later in life, although I don't condone what we all know, I don't think anyone would. It says in the good book, if you're without sin, cast the first stone. So he seems to have come back from some of his tribulations, and especially in America, everyone loves a comeback. And he seems more open now and more outward with his emotions. And to be there Sunday when he won with his kids, I mean, if you didn't get emotional on that, I was actually on the line, Ricky, when he came to sign a scorecard with the Tiger Goat shirt. And he gave me a little look. It was pretty cool. But he was so genuinely excited and relieved, and there was just pride there, which I don't think, you know, maybe he had taken it for granted when he was healthy, and it was, you know, in the mid-2000s, because he was knocking off tournaments left and right without, you know, much effort, it seemed like. But he's definitely a different man. I think time does that too. He's 43 now. If you can't root for a comeback, then, you know, good on you.
What's next for Sideways 9?
Sideways 9, I've got a couple new designs that have hit this past month. I had a design hit that was just a slogan, and it says there's two of them. One of them that came out in May was the Circle of Friendship. And what it is an actual circle, and it says Circle of Friendship, has a Sideways 9 flag sticking out of the center. So obviously it relates to, you know, gimme. If you're playing a game and it's within 3 feet, it's good. Pick it up. You're in the circle of friendship. On the outside of that logo, about a little bit outside of the circle, I put a little hash and it says your ball. So it's just a play on words to all of us who play for a couple bucks and people who talk a little trash as, their opponent's trying to make a 4 or 5 footer. So that one launched in May. There was one that launched just after the Masters that said, I'm not the worst putter in the world, but when that guy dies, that's what it says. And, it's just that bit of wit and sarcasm that people can appreciate. But what is occurring now is that Sideways 9 will get into a few select golf stores in May and early June, and then there will be a hat launch. So there'll probably be 3 to 4 designs of hats that come out that people can wear, out to dinner, out to the bar, on the golf course, and we'll continue to grow. The beauty of owning your own company and changing directions and seeing where the market trends is it's a huge bit of freedom. I can very quickly, if, for instance, rope hats are all of a sudden the rage, because of my relationship with my wholesaler, I can transition into that area and act very quickly. For now, I'll still keep developing the company. I've only been open 6 weeks. Exposure is the biggest thing through social media and through golf stores and word of mouth and going to tournaments and having people react to it. And as I said, launching hats in the next few weeks.
In golf, the 19th hole is a slang term for a bar or a restaurant on or near the golf course, very often in the clubhouse itself. This edition of the 19th hole is presented by Le École number 41, a family-owned artisan winery located in Walla Walla, Washington. Tonight, I'm drinking a bottle of their 2015 Merlot. This winery is actually recognized as one of Washington State's top producers of premium Merlot. On this bottle, I'm picking up a ton of dark cherry, almost plum on the palate. The wine is full-bodied and has a nice dry finish. Almost some cocoa notes on the end of this. Chad, what is your favorite 19th hole, and what are you drinking?
That's a tough question because it's a varied answer. If I'm drinking some sort of libation, it's going to be a premium vodka and soda. From all my years in California, I'm a huge wine drinker, so it's probably going to be a really good Cabernet. As we sit here right now, Ricky, in all honesty, I have a glass of Tito's and soda next to me, and I still have about half a glass of Cabernet from Clos Duval.
Funny that you mentioned Tito's because I've not had a lot of that. I used to spend some time. I actually lived in Poland for a while, so Polish vodka was something that I was very keen to. I drink it room temperature with nothing mixed. It's just the vodka and an orange slice. But the other day, I was playing golf with my good friend David. We were in Alamo, California, playing Round Hill Country Club, and we get to the turn. He's like, "Hey, you want a double Tito's and Gatorade?" And I'm like, "That sounds awesome." So we ended up having a couple of those throughout the round, and Tito's is fantastic. I mean, I don't want to taste the vodka, but Tito's has a very distinct flavor, and it's a delicious vodka. And the soda thing, so I'm a tonic guy, and I drink diet tonic with gin specifically. So how's soda compare to tonic? I don't even know if I know.
Well, we'll see. How it started for us is that my wife and I are both, obviously, we're semi-Californians. We're both from the Midwest, but obviously spent a majority of our married life in California. So we're very much into health and fitness and food and eat and try and drink very healthy. So where the soda came along is I had never thought of it. Even from college days, it was like, oh yeah, gin and tonic, whatever and tonic. And my wife finally said to me, she said, you might as well just mix it with soda. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, it's like 140 calories to put tonic in that. And so I grabbed the tonic bottle and started looking, and I thought, well, I never thought there was sugar in this. So I transitioned to soda purely from the standpoint that there's 0 calories. As it relates to Tito's in particular, my wife and I have had conversations. We've had taste tests between Grey Goose and Kettle One, Belvedere, and Tito's. She thinks Tito's has a slight metallic taste, which would be accurate because I think it's in it's like fermented in or processed through tins or copper or whatever it may be, steel drums. All of our years in California, as you so articulately proclaimed about the wine that you're drinking from Washington, is that you can pick up currant and you can pick up cocoa and coffee and different things. She can actually pick up a little bit of a metallic flavor in Tito's. So we actually had a taste test. She nailed all 3, and I think I missed all 3. But I still love Tito's.
Hey, that's why I drink the diet tonic, and I'm very unhappy with Safeway right now. So you talk about California. I don't have a lot of stores here. I have Lucky, Safeway, and Whole Foods, and Trader Joe's are basically my options where I am in Santa Rosa. And the Safeway diet tonic used to be 0 calories, and they've replaced it with a new diet tonic that's 5 calories per serving. So I'm getting a little bit. Now, I will say the flavor is better and it's got a better mouthfeel. So I don't know if whatever those 5 calories are doing, it's helping, but I drink the diet tonic to make it closer to the soda in terms of a quote-unquote healthy cocktail.
Well, I was going to ask you as well. I know you're in Santa Rosa, and I used to spend some time up in Santa Rosa, even playing in the NorCal Section Championship up at Mayakama. And we used to frequent a pub. I think it's in the town of Patterson, I think. It's called Patterson Pub. Have you ever been to that location?
I have not. So I've only been in Santa Rosa for 2 months, and we are just the biggest beer drinkers you've ever met. And we've been trying to find all of the beer bars, bottle shops, and breweries. We've not even hit all of them yet. I've not been to Mayakama, but my club is maybe 15 minutes from there, so I'm very, very familiar with Mayakama. And I don't even know where Patterson is. It's so funny. I've played since I've been here. I've basically played my club, Windsor Golf Club. I went to Brooks, California to play Yochadihi. This past weekend, I went to Alamo to play at Round Hill, and I'm not playing the courses near me. So maybe this weekend I'll play, but I'm going to look that place up because anywhere that we can go and get good beer and have a good experience is what we're looking for.
We had 1 or 2 tails from there. I remember specifically my friend David, who I brought up, who we met at Augusta a few weeks ago, actually caddied for me in the NorCal Championship, and I had an early tee time at Mayakama. Remember making a 9 or a 10 on I think it was the 9th hole. I teed off on the back first and was still got in the house at whatever it was, 78, 79. But it was such tough playing conditions, and it's a walking-only course. I didn't realize I was like top 20 for this 2-day event. And so we finished our round, and his buddy, who was an assistant at Mayakama, and I'm not sure if he's there anymore, his name is Andrew Black. We all meet at Patterson Pub early in the afternoon, round 1. And my buddy David, orders a margarita, and he says, "Hey, I want to get a margarita before happy hour ends." And the waitress says, "Oh, it's happy hour all night on Mondays." Flash forward to all of my Pebble Beach colleagues and friends who are playing in the tournament coming and meeting up for dinner at the bar later, would not even join the table with the group of people I was with, and woke up the next morning for round 2 in a bit of a foggy state and did not play my best round in round 2. But Patterson Pub was always a good spot. It was a good hangout. The town of Patterson was pretty quiet, and if you get a chance to play Mayakama, it's honestly one of the few, I hate to say this, one of the few Jack Nicklaus courses that I truly love. I just think it's a great work of art, and it's just an amazing place.
You sold me. I want to play there just because I want to see what other courses are in the area, and they're one of our clubs that are on our comp set, and we've got a couple of our members that are members there, and it's just a matter of time. One of our members that's actually a member there is moving, so if I'm going to get in with him, I need to do that quick, but very excited to experience that place, and it's good to hear that course lives up to, and I did not know until you just said that Jack designed it. So I've got a love-hate relationship with his designs, and when I play well on his designs, I love them, but if I don't, well, you know how that works.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. I'm not a huge fan. Mayakama, it kind of breaks the mold for me. It's just a great golf course. It's set up in such a great area. It winds through the mountain range. Another great feature, I actually played the course before the clubhouse was built and then played it afterwards, but members actually can walk off the 18th green into an underground men's locker room winery, and they have their own collection of their own personal wines, and they can go in and open a bottle from their collection right there in the cellar and have their 19th hole with whatever wine they choose. So it's just really well done. Obviously in the Napa Valley area, it's just a nice touch for a great club.
Sold. When I'm playing, you're coming. I can't have you not in my foursome. That sounds like a perfect way for us to meet on the first tee at Mayakama. That would be a fantastic round of golf. And I would not have known that about the 18th hole wine cellar underground experience. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. I'll be out for the U.S. Open. So, probably the only way to get a tee time is in Northern California during the U.S. Open is to travel about 3 hours north to go play some golf. So I'll be out there in a few weeks to experience the Open, and you never know, might be able to get around and.
Let me know, because I mean, whether we can play golf or we can't, let's at least meet for a beer, and you can let's go to Patterson. That'd be fantastic. Like, how cool would that be? If the first time that we connect, Barry can't be here, that's fine. His loss. We'll go to Patterson's Pub, and that would just be a fun closure of this circle that we've created here on the Wednesday Match Play.
Absolutely. And if I head to Patterson Pub, I will be drinking something other than margaritas.
Chad, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was awesome. I'm glad that Barry connected us, and it was fun. I know that you were sick a couple of weeks ago. We were trying to get you on the show, so I'm glad that you're feeling better. I hate being sick, so I can relate to that, and I'm glad that you're back to 100%. It was fun learning more about your time at Pebble Beach, at Forest Dunes, the fact that you've had the chance to see and play the loop. Jealous of that because I've been there. And also fun learning more about Sideways 9. I mean, that's a really cool venture that you've got. The fact that Tiger saw your shirt and gave you a little nod, that's a really neat thing. And I'm just very excited. I mean, you're a brand new company, and you've already got a good presence. Your designs are incredible, and keep doing what you're doing. And I look forward to seeing what you do from here and what your next designs look like.
I appreciate it, Ricky. It was so great to be on your show, and let's get together in a few weeks and have a little beverage in Northern California.
That puts this installment of the Wednesday Match Play podcast in the books. But we'll be back next week for another exciting episode of the show.